Kevin Bartz is a senior staff attorney at the Public Utility Commission of Texas, or PUC, with 4 years of cumulative experience in his role at the PUC. Prior to returning to the PUC's legal division in 2024, he worked at Coates Rose PC as an associate in the firm's public finance practice group. Kevin also has over 2 years of experience at the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality as a litigation division attorney. Please welcome Kevin Bartz.
So my presentation today kind of has a couple of main goals that I'd like to highlight at the top. The first is to just kind of give a general sense of the water-related legislation that was passed during the 89th regular legislative session in Texas this year. I also want to touch on some of the moving parts related to the first special session that is still ongoing, and I also would like to provide some tools for folks to kind of navigate the Texas Legislature online website so that in the future, if you have any bills of interest that you'd like to track, you kind of know where to go and how to look for them and what tools are available to you. And then my last goal is I'm going to kind of tick through some of the bills that did pass during the 89th regular session and just kind of give a brief overview of them. And at the end, if you have any questions, got to head back to the office, but you'll have my email and I can drill down on them a little bit further for you. So the 89th regular session began in January of 2025 and adjourned in June. Some of the areas of focus included a prioritization of infrastructure investment and regional solutions for water challenges. As part of this, one of the more significant bills that was passed does not necessarily directly relate to the Utility Commission, but it kind of highlights the focus on water during this legislative session, is Senate Bill 7 and House Joint Resolution 7. To that point, significant funding has been allocated to address water challenges throughout the state. So as a brief overview for the 89th regular legislative session, approximately 8,700 bills were filed. Of those 8,700 bills, around 500 or so had potential impacts on the Public Utility Commission, its operations, or its regulated entities. And at the end of the veto period, of those 500 bills with potential impacts, approximately 75 of them were signed into law. So that's about 15% of the 500. We have the special session ongoing as well, so that would be 89-1. Discussion of water-related topics continued with things from flood focus to other items. A couple of bills I wanted to discuss that also have been filed, to my understanding, include House Bill 215. These are not on the slides. House Bill 215 is relating to the liability of a landowner for the withdrawal and beneficial use of groundwater. House Bill 216 is relating to the consideration by a groundwater conservation district of modeled available groundwater when issuing permits. House Bill 217 is relating to the liability of a groundwater conservation district for actions of the district restricting groundwater production from a well. And House Bill 218 is relating to the transfer of groundwater outside of groundwater conservation district's boundaries. So those are a few, always a moving target at the special session, but something to keep an eye on as things move forward. So as you can see, the 89th regular session included a priority from the governor for a generational investment in water. And we'll get back to the legislation itself. So now I'm going to move on to kind of walking you through some of the tools that are available for you to track any legislation from this session, the special session, or legislative sessions going forward. This is the Texas Legislature Online website. And if you look to the far right here in this tab, you'll see it says 89R. That would be for the 89th regular session. If you drop that tab down, you can find 89.1, which would be the special session. And if there's a second special session, that would be 89.2, et cetera. Once you go to the legislation tab and punch in your bill number and hit enter, you'll be able to track the history of the bill, the text. Once it's enrolled, this would be the final bill language here. You can go through the actions taken on it, any amendments, so on and so forth, and go through the bill stages. So I find this to be a really useful tool for tracking legislation online. So as kind of an illustrative example of one way you can use this tool for that Senate Bill 7 that I discussed pertaining to the financing of certain infrastructure for the Texas Water Development Board. This bill is a little unique compared to others in that it doesn't all go into effect at the same time necessarily. So, for instance, Senate Bill 7 goes into effect September 1st, 2025, except sections 104, 106, and 109. Those will go into effect September 1st, 2027, but only if House Joint Resolution 7 is approved by the voters. So this kind of shows, some of the nuances that there can be in tracking legislation and determining when a bill or a law goes into effect. Using this as another illustrative example for Senate Bill 7, if you go to the Bill Stages tab, you can see this bill at Stage 7 has become law, Stage 7, and it dictates here that nuance I just went over regarding the House Joint Resolution 7. By the same token, if you were to punch in House Joint Resolution 7 here and go to Bill Stages, Stage 7 not reached, proposed constitutional amendment. And again, if you want to look at the actual text of these, you can always hit on that tab and go down. So moving on to some of the bills that passed, I'll be sure to highlight ones that directly impact the Utility Commission. I just want to give a quick rundown on the overview of all these, and then I may drill down a little bit more on some of them. So you have Senate Bill 565, which is relating to a compliance agreement for the suspension of an enforcement action against a regional water supply, sewer, wastewater treatment, or solid waste disposal service for certain violations. You have Senate Bill 740, which is relating to the procedure for resolving certain customer complaints before the Public Utility Commission. Senate Bill 1169, which is relating to the provision of water or sewer service by public entities operating jointly or concurrently. Senate Bill 1967, which is relating to the provision of financial assistance by the Texas Water Development Board for certain projects. And Senate Bill 2662, which is relating to the enforcement of drought contingency plans by water and sewer utilities and the Public Utility Commission of Texas. So this in particular will be one to keep an eye on for future developments. So starting with Senate Bill 565, again, this is relating to compliance agreement for the suspension of an enforcement action. This effectively broadens the type of entities eligible for safe harbor when integrating struggling utilities. Senate Bill 740, this is relating to certain proceedings by the Public Utility Commission of Texas regarding water sewer service. The main point to take away from this is that it's aiming to speed up the process for qualified entities to take over failing water or wastewater facilities. Texas has approximately 300 Class D utilities, which are those with fewer than 500 connections. And smaller water and sewer utilities can be a little more prone to becoming distressed from underinvestment in infrastructure and have less frequent rate increases. So this bill aims to expedite the system improvement charge proceedings and to enhance distressed water and sewer utilities by expanding the pool of eligible entities that can rescue these distressed systems. Next is Senate Bill 790. This is relating to the procedure for resolving certain customer complaints before the Public Utility Commission. Under current law, consumers that are paying for water and wastewater service through a rental agreement can only seek binding resolution through a complaint process, regardless of the amount in controversy. And so they'll do this through a formal complaint hearing before the Public Utility Commission or before the State Office of Administrative Hearings. And this legislation aims to allow the commission to create a more streamlined process to help tenants and landlords resolve these issues more quickly and efficiently. Senate Bill 1169 is relating to the provision of water or sewer service by public entities operating jointly or concurrently. And it creates a structure for water and wastewater utilities to form public utility entities for regional collaboration. Senate Bill 1967 is relating to the provision of financial assistance by the Texas Water Development Board for certain projects, and this expands certain flood infrastructure funding eligibility. Senate Bill 2662 is relating to the enforcement of drought contingency plans by water and sewer utilities in the Public Utility Commission of Texas. That is one If you have questions about, please email me and I'll get into a little more detail on it. House Bill 29, this bill is relating to water losses reported by certain municipally owned utilities to the Texas Water Development Board, and it authorizes certain administrative penalties. You also have House Bill 517, which is relating to the authority of property owners associations to assess a fine for discolored vegetation or turf during a period of residential watering restrictions. House Bill 685 is relating to rates established by municipalities for water or sewer service for certain entities. And House Bill 1318 is relating to a certificate of public convenience and necessity to provide water or sewer service in an area incorporated or annexed by a municipality. In addition, there's House Bill 2712. House Bill 2712 is relating to test years used for rate-making purposes by certain water and sewer utilities. And that one will affect the Utility Commission in particular, so I'll get into a little more detail on that when I get to that. House Bill 29 is relating to water losses reported by certain municipally owned utilities to the Texas Water Development Board. It basically focuses on water loss in large utilities and mandates large municipal utilities to validate water loss audits and create long-term plans to reduce water loss. House Bill 517, this is relating to the homeowners association aspect. It essentially prevents homeowners associations from fining residents for dry lawns during drought-related water restrictions. House Bill 685 is relating to rates established by municipalities for water or sewer service for certain entities. And then House Bill 1318 is relating to a certificate of public convenience and necessity to provide water or sewer service in an area incorporated or annexed by a municipality. Specifically for this one, I'll add that it amends Texas Water Code Section 13.255. So if you're looking for that, that would be the place to look. House Bill 2712. So this one, this is relating to test years used for rate-making purposes by certain water and sewer utilities. What this does is it essentially allows water test years to use historic, future, or combined data for water rate cases. And I would just highlight the word allows, not requires. As water infrastructure ages, utilities must make costly investments in improvements in their systems. Current law allows investor-owned utilities to recover expenses incurred during a test year preceding a rate change application, the historical test year. The change for this bill allows the PUC to evaluate historic, future, or a combination of both periods in a rate case. And it essentially is going to encourage more timely investment in water infrastructure and allow for better alignment between the rates and the true cost of service. And then a few miscellaneous updates for the PUC that aren't necessarily water related. House Bill 4344 is relating to access and use of criminal history record information. It basically provides the PUC additional authority to conduct background checks for those who have access to sensitive information. And it builds on Senate Bill 1112, which was from the previous legislative regular session, the 88th regular. This had authorized the PUC to obtain information on individuals newly hired or contracted, but House Bill 4344 extends that to existing employees as well as contractors. And lastly, we have Senate Bill 2368. Senate Bill 2368 is relating to critical infrastructure and utilities, including affiliation with certain foreign entities of persons working or participating. I have yet to confirm. I believe this may also affect water, but I'm not 100% certain at this moment. But it's enhancing the enforcement of settlement effectiveness by establishing confidentiality of investigative material during and after a proceeding. It also extends confidentiality once a case is closed as part of a formal legislative recommendation included in the PUC's report. So I think that's all I've got for today. I appreciate you all coming out, and I do want to highlight one rule change at the commission involves mapping, who will be up next. And this rule change requires applicants for CCN applications to attest that they've reviewed and looked at the PUC's mapping requirements online, including all video materials. And so I don't know if that'll be brought up in their presentation, but I just wanted to highlight that as well. So thank you all for your time. I appreciate you.
All right, thank you so much, Kevin Bartz. Really appreciate you coming in today.